So today we're going to be talking about tonight, really we're going to be talking about e-newsletters. And, this isn't the sexiest of topics, but the fact of the matter is that this is really a great topic. A few years ago, and John and Brandon, I know you guys have been hanging out with me forever, but we talked about content marketing when that concept first came out. What is content marketing and how does that work? And what does that really mean to us as business owners trying to get additional leads? And so we started talking about it. And in the beginning, it didn't really make a lot of sense because people were still running ads and they were still running Facebook stuff and this, that, and the other. And content marketing was just like, oh, yeah, it's another organic strategy. You can't get leads fast that way. But what content marketing has really turned out to be is a very effective way to stay in touch with your clients and build trust and get leads, but not just from your clients, from other places as well. So I was on a webinar today with an old friend, Ryan Dice. I don't know if you guys know him, a digital marketer. I've known those guys forever. And he was talking about a message. One of the key things was for his clients was the right message. And that really is so true about content marketing, because if you're delivering the message that your customers are interested in, you'll get more business. And let's just think about this for a minute. When you look at buyers, home buyers, any of you guys have any idea how many? I want to call you avatar. Avatar is a profile. Think about that. Do you have how many home buyer profiles do you really have? I can think of three right off the top of my head. So when you're thinking about it, what do you think? Any ideas come to your mind about the three types of buyers what we might address with meaningful content?
First time
Oh,
home buyers.
which one, John?
First time home buyers.
First time home buyer. That's clearly one of them. That's clearly one of them. And that's one of them that education-based marketing really appeals to very well. If you go on the internet and you type in, we have an aggregator which takes all the questions that are being asked on the internet and about a particular topic. We type in the topic, and then the aggregator tells us what people are asking about on the internet, and they'll ask us how many times a month, or they'll tell us how many times a month those searches occurred. Okay, so if somebody's looking for black mold or they're looking for whatever, it'll tell us how many times that search a term appears each month. So when you go and look about putting together a newsletter for first-time homebuyers or include content on there about first-time homebuyers, wouldn't that be easy to really target the content for them? Think about this. What would be a good topic? How much does a home inspection cost? Can a home inspection fail? Can a house fail a home inspection? What happens? What do I do with the results after I get finished with the home inspection? What do I do with those findings? I mean, I can think of millions of topics that first-time homebuyers are really, really interested in for our newsletter. So what about the second type? Anybody thinking about what would be a second type of
They want
home
upgrade,
buyer?
an
That's
upgrade.
right. That's right. Our buddy Jim Davis calls them move up buyers. So they're moving up. So they had a home and prosperity has hit their family, luckily, and they have moved up. Now, the content a move up buyer would be interested in, do you think it'd be the same as a first time home buyer? So if
No.
you've already bought a home, you went through the home inspection process once, you probably got a pretty good little idea, right, about how it works. You
Yeah.
probably wouldn't ask me, what do I do with the inspection findings? You probably wouldn't ask me those things. But what kind of content would be appealing to that home buyer? What are they looking for? Really, they're looking just for like first-time home buyers to keep them from buying a money pit, right? So what would they be looking for? Are they looking for the cheapest price?
No.
Yeah, I think they're looking for expertise, don't you guys?
Yeah, thoroughness.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of content could we provide them that would be very helpful?
Maybe more of like findings on site.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And Brandon, would it be photographs, videos, both?
it could be
Written?
both, but I mean, you can see just how much video is important these days and how much time people spend watching videos. I mean, even just like Instagram, you just used to scroll Instagram. It just used to be pictures, right? And now it's almost 100%, not 100%, but a vast majority are these little video clips, right?
Right. And TikTok, look at that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, my gosh, that's 100% video clips, and
Yeah.
it's just people are addicted to that thing. So then the third type of home buyers I would call them would be seasoned veterans. These guys probably get transferred across the country. They bought home inspections in the past. They're generally affluent. They really aren't worried about price, but they're worried about one thing, the quality of the home inspector, right?
Hmm.
So the content that we would produce for them would give them confidence that we're the right person to protect them from buying the money pit. Although they're not worried about a $20 doorknob or a $50 item or $100 item. They're worried about, is the foundation in good condition? Is the roof? I might have to come in and put a new roof on.
Hmm.
So, and a lot of times they don't necessarily attend the inspection or want to be bothered by it. Someone else in their family, their wife generally or spouse. If it's a wife that's successful like that and transferred around the country, we certainly had a home inspector like that. Then he was handle those details. So the spouse, I would say, would be the one to handle those details, and there would be different content for them.
Hmm.
So newsletters really can be tailored for all three of those different audiences, but we have to remember the message to market match. Which avatar are we appealing to? And then what's the message for them? Okay, so newsletters allow us to reach those particular people very well. So one of the other things is I want to talk about this in just a second, but I want to talk about this. I want to say that newsletters should never be used in a vacuum. In other words, if you get a newsletter and you just send a newsletter out by itself and don't do anything else, do you think that would be hugely effective?
No,
I don't think so either. I think it is somewhat effective, but I think when you combine it with two or three different things, what else could we combine the newsletter? What other marketing strategy could we combine the newsletter with to make it more valuable to both to the reader and to you as the business owner? What kind of other strategies could we use for that? What other
I mean,
marketing strategies?
uh, the one that comes to my mind, we just talked about it, is video.
Okay, you certainly video, but how about a blog?
Yeah.
Okay, how about social media? Okay. How about your video channels?
Hmm.
Okay. So I think all of those combined. So a newsletter, I'll give you an example about this. Beth and I lived in Naples, and we had a guy that cleaned our carpets. We had carpets in the bedrooms. And we had a guy that cleaned the carpets, and he was using this like OxyClean thing, machine. It really made the carpets look fantastic. We have pets. So, we wanted to keep him on speed dial, so when we needed, we could bring him on over. So he left us a business card. I guess I put it away somewhere. And that's the story of our lives, right? We give out lots of business cards as home inspectors, but what do people do with them? I'm uncertain. They can't always put their hand on it. So the fact of the matter was, when we went to call this guy again, I said to Beth, what happened to that guy's business card? She's like, I don't know. I don't know. But, he never kept in touch with us, and he never sent us anything. Okay. So you know what happens? We couldn't find him and had to select someone else. What a missed opportunity for that guy, because we were fans. I mean, we thought he did a great job. We'd have used him over and over. Okay. But that was gone. So, how many business owners do you know? Let's just say we were at the chiropractor this morning. Our chiropractor doesn't send us a newsletter. What a shame. Does anybody that you do business with, do they send you a newsletter?
occasionally we'll get some from realtors we've done business with, but they're usually
Uh-huh.
the
Sporadic.
kind of in the can one by whoever the franchise they're working for.
Yeah, yeah. Borders on spam, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, but most business owners don't do newsletters, which I think is a tremendous missed opportunity. So I think what happens is it keeps you on the top of mind. It builds brand awareness. It establishes you as the obvious expert, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. So it does all of those things. It keeps customers, if they can't find your business card, when you stay in touch with them every week or every month, guess what happens is you're on top of mind. So really, why is that important? Because how often are you a lot of home inspectors tell me, well, Kenya, I'm not doing all that, because you know what happens is they're not going to buy another house for 6 years or 8 years, and I might already be out of the business. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great, but What about making them a brand fan? In other words, a big fan of your brand. Okay, could a newsletter help you do that? You provide them valuable information on a regular basis, and I think that you can use the newsletters to make them a brand fan. And let's talk about that for a minute, because one of the things that Brandon is doing, and we've been teaching this for a long time, but Brandon is really starting to take advantage of it, is putting our preferred vendor list together. So what Brandon has done is he's gotten with Beth and Dill and the team, and what they've done is they have put a list together of businesses in his area that would be helpful to his clients. And one of the things that Brandon did, he took it a little step further because they moved into a new area there and they didn't know anybody. They have two kids and they thought, well, we need a pediatrician. But there weren't any pediatricians that they knew, so they had to ask around, fumble around, and all that. So not just putting other vendors in the home services industry on there, but other business owners in general. Okay, so that people get you have your list. Okay, so what happens is, let's say you put, and Brandon lives in a pretty cold area. We were talking about it. All you guys live in a pretty cold area. Okay, so somebody can take. We could have put your veterinarian on there, your pet groomer. Because when you move into a new area, you got to have your pets groomed. So what happens is, let's think about this. Let's say you put a new window and door contractor on there. All right. And so it's coming fall. It's getting kind of chilly, and maybe you want to upgrade your windows. So in the newsletter, Brandon makes an offer to his clients on behalf of the window and door company, an exclusive offer. Now, how valuable would that be to the customer? Certainly would be valuable for those that needed new windows, right? Or a new door, or a housekeeper, or whatever it happens to be, right? So your newsletter can really, really be of tremendous value to your list. Because not only can you make offers, but how many offers, John, can you make? Let's see, sewer, radon, this, that, and the other. But pretty soon you run out of offers, right? And not everybody needs those things, but they need a lot of other things that you could team up with others in the community to provide. So newsletters allow you to stay on top of your mind and build expertise by having a list of others you work with make offers from their firms. Okay, so maybe the water heater company. Go ahead, Brandon. I'm sorry.
No, just to add to that, we sent out just this last week, I think it was, a newsletter. It was kind of a quarterly kind of maintenance type of thing. We're transitioning into fall and winter time, and so we had a couple of posts about some of our vendors that they might want to contact. And one of the guys that we have is a sprinkler repair company, and he agreed to put a $10 discount on the winterizing of the sprinkler systems. Because here we get really cold temperatures. You can't let your pipes freeze in the ground. And so we winterize by blowing those out with air, so tracking the newsletter and the system that we use, we saw that I don't know exactly how many opens we had, but I do know that we had something like 70 plus clicks on that offer, that discount. And so we're working with him in terms of getting him more business. And that's 70 plus potential clients that click to his offer. So again, we're adding value to our past clients and our agents and anybody else that's subscribed by giving them, that offer. And that's just for whatever reason, it just seems like I'm always looking for someone to come blow out our sprinklers every year, and it's never the same company. So now we're, putting that together so we can make that offer.
Brand, how does that actually work? So you're putting the information for the sprinkler guy into your newsletter and into your list in your newsletter, and then they're following through on that, and you're able to track the clicks to all the way to the sprinkler guy?
Just the clicks from the email that we send. We use get response.
Okay, so
that can
that's
track
separate,
the clicks that we get.
completely from the newsletter.
Yeah.
Well, not really,
Yeah,
actually, because what happens is when you send the newsletter out, so John, they have an offer in there, and let's just say it was
I'm
just
like yours, John.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
We can
that
measure all the
offer
way
is sending
through.
it to your get response, something different in get response that you can identify by vendor, which
Are you looking at your analytics Brandon, or are you looking at get response?
So before you do that, let me just say this to John. Here's what happens when you send out your newsletter and it has a link for the sprinkler company in there. They open your newsletter, so we can measure that as a click. But when they click on that link within that email, we can also measure that. Okay, so we can see how many people go from your newsletter
And that's
on forward.
analytics.
And your Google Analytics. Well,
Gotcha.
in this case wouldn't be Google Analytics, it would be Constant Contact or Get Response, whichever one you're using. So what happens is we can really refine it down very far from that. So the person knows how many their clicks they're getting and they can see it. And one of the things you do is furnish those statistics to the vendor so they can see it as well. See, it's just like marketing is really getting your phone to ring. Sales is once that phone rings and you get them on the phone, you close them on a home inspection. When that's the same way, all we're doing is driving traffic or visitors to that offer for that vendor, and he or she has to close the sale. Okay, but so what Brandon is saying, a big number of people clicked on that because it was a needed service at the right time of the year. So that's how it works. So yes, we can track it. We could actually set up a phone number and we could actually, with the system that we have, and we could actually see how many phone calls they got or how many forms got filled out. So yeah, we can cut the data all the way down very finely. So that's a big thing. And Brandon, thanks for sharing that because that was a timely offer that somebody needs. So your newsletter is providing value to your clients from offers that aren't even yours. They're your partners or preferred vendors. So I don't know about this, but one of the things Beth and I always had a problem was at the mountain house was chimney cleaners. So, we had wood burning fireplaces there in the North Georgia mountains, and the chimney, you had to get a chimney cleaner was hard to get. Anybody that did anything besides asphalt shingle roof, if they did metal, that was hard to find a roofer that did that, or anything else other than that, shakes or shingles. So whatever you have in your market, then think about getting a vendor for that. Now, Brandon, how about snow blowing and all of that? I know if you're an older person in your area, they all moved to Florida, so you don't have any old people. Is that what it is? So, but if you did, would that be a valuable service to someone?
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the lawn care model. It's snow blowing in the winter and lawn care in the summertime, right? So they just kind of, and then some of those they'll mix in, other things like I guess Christmas light installation, those kinds of things. Same with the pest control companies. We're seasonal with the pest control, not year round like Florida might be.
Yeah, we got pests all year round. Usually they're two-legged.
Yeah.
So we got plenty of pests here in Florida, and we're getting more daily. So stop, y'all. Stop sending your rejects from your state down to ours. So anyway, so what happens is not only do you stay on top of mind, but you're adding real value to your prospects and your clients via your newsletter. Okay, so people think, oh, it's just a newsletter. Nobody opens that. The highest return on investment of any marketing strategy is still email marketing. Okay, so if you say, I got a list of 5,000 people, I say you're making no money from it because they're ignoring you. Okay, but if you have a small dedicated list, 50, 100, 200, 300 people that read your emails or your newsletters day in and day out, week in and week out, that's a list. That makes money for you. Okay, and it's one of the ways when you offer services and offers, not only from yourself, but from your vendors, how you build brand fans. Okay, so how about when somebody, you can have a vendor when somebody moves in, they get the first lawn care service free or the first housekeeping service free. Okay, and then what happens is the vendor is wanting to prove to that client or that prospect that they're great and get the jobs from them. We have an old friend in Atlanta who did that, and the lawn service guy called up and said, Gary, listen, I can't take any more business. You're going to have to get a new vendor. And Gary said, how come? He said, so many of the leads you gave me turned into clients. We're full. We've hired and we just can't hire any more people. We don't have enough equipment to do it. So your vendors will value that. And of course, so do the clients. So it's a win-win for you and the client. It's a big thing. So not only to stay on top of mind, but you add real value to your folks from that. Okay, let's look at the number 2. I just pushed the wrong button. Okay. What type of content can be included in a home inspection e-newsletter to provide value to subscribers? Okay, remember when we started off earlier, we started off talking about the three types, the three types of clients or avatars that we had. We had first-time home buyers, we had move-up buyers, and we had buyers that were I'm gonna call them, serial buyers, or people that bought quite a few homes. Okay, professional buyers, people get transferred around or whatever. So we talked a little bit about content, but here's my story about this. Okay. How many of you have time to read a whole newsletter? I mean, when it comes in your email box, even if it's excellent, you go in there, you're probably busy. So you're looking at your email, you're doing this, that, doing the other. I mean, are you going to stop and read the whole newsletter? So I think the most effective newsletters, and we've certainly proven this to be true, are ones that have a story and have a what we call teaser copy. And this teaser copy is enough to get your target audience, whether that's first-time home buyer, move up, or multi-buyer. It's geared for them. Okay, and what happens is they read that teaser copy and said, "Ooh, I want to know more about that," and they click on the link, and then it opens up. Well, guess where the newsletter story opens up? It opens up on your blog. And where's your blog attached? To your website. Okay. So somebody comes from your newsletter, they land on your blog and they start reading it. Guess what? Google loves it because one of the ranking factors is how much time did that person spend on your page? Okay, so that's great. And what if they're interested in that and they see, because your blog is on your website, they see something other on your website and they go there. You get even more Google love because what happens is not only is a ranking factor time on page, but a ranking factor is also where else did they go? How many other pages did they look at while they were on there? Because Google does this. See, Google works for the searcher. Okay, you can argue that, but let me tell you, their business model, they don't care about you as a business in so much, but they care about the searcher. So if somebody types in Home Inspector Atlanta, and what happens is the search results come up. Okay, and if people click on a website and then immediately click back off, I call that back browsing. If they click back off immediately, Google said, "Ooh, that content wasn't of interest based on what they searched for." So if that happens 4 or 5 times, then what happens, Google will no longer show that page when somebody types in that keyword phrase. So here you get a lot of love on pages that Google will then show into the search engines when people type in those keyword phrases. Okay, so this is a complicated thing, but it's really super easy. All you have to know is the more time they spend on your page and the more places they go on your website, the better Google loves you. Okay, and you guys all know that we need to be in the top of the Google search engine rankings to be able to get more business. We kind of have this nerdy internet joke, and the joke goes like this. Do you know where you bury dead bodies on the internet? Page 2, because nobody goes there, right? I mean, do you guys go to page 2? Have you ever gone to page 2? Okay, maybe you did in the beginning to see what was on page 2. Maybe you thought there was a body there. I don't know. But if you're not on page 1, forget about it. Now, that's what you guys say.
I went to page
John, forget about
17
it.
back when I built my first website.
That's where you were on page
17?
2. Yeah, page 17. Yeah, you
That
were
was to
like the
find myself.
100-year dead, man. So you got to be on page 1. So all these little things make a big difference. So when they come to your blog post, okay, so they find a story on your e-newsletter they're interested in based on the teaser written, they go right to your blog. So then is where you can really showcase videos and you can showcase memes if you want to. You can showcase infographics, whatever you happen to have there. But the more interesting it is, the longer they spend on the page and the more deal you get. Now, on that blog page, when you get there, can you make offers on your blog? I mean, if you're not, shame on us. We certainly do on ours. So when you're on the blog, you can make offers of all different types. That's a big thing. So what kind of content would they be interested in? Would be content based on, are they a first-time home buyer, move-up buyer, or seasoned buyer? Okay, so the content that they're interested in, the story types they're interested in, but once you get them there, you should have good content on their YouTube videos, that kind of thing. So if you've got a seasoned buyer and you got a blog, a newsletter post that they're really interested in, okay, I would have a video on there that proved expertise. I mean, if you've got a video on there when you walk in the foyer, there's a big wet spot on the ceiling, and you do a video of that. How impressive is that? It's not impressive at all. You know, a real estate agent could see that. You know what I'm saying? But when you find a sub pump in a basement where the vent line is terminated in a furnace flue, okay, now you got a video.
Yeah.
Okay, because people really ain't seeing that explosive situation very often. Or if you're doing new construction, because new construction buyers are really, really cool because when we own the Southern Home Inspection Services all those years, we do new construction videos. And the contractors will be on our YouTube channel arguing with each other. No, it's the plumber's fault. No, it's the electrician's fault. You know, and they'd be going off on all these things. But some of those videos have 50 and 60,000 views. Okay, so new construction buyers is another avatar that you could appeal to. So the content that you can provide on your blog is really dependent on the story and which avatar or which persona that you're trying to reach with that particular. But if you don't segment your content, here's what happens is, does one size fit all? I mean, I used to be an extra large shirt wearer, and through no fault of my own, I wear a large now. Okay, so one size does not fit all. Okay, so that doesn't work for content either. You know, so you have to really say, who is my target audience? What would they be interested in? And how can I get them hooked? And a newsletter allows you to do that, especially when it goes to your blog. So when it goes to your blog, then what happens? Could you take that information and put it on a video? Sure, you could. Could you take that and use bits of it for social media tweets? Sure, you could. Okay.
Yeah, and we've talked about that strategy in the past where they all kind of come together and create this whole marketing campaign, right? Or marketing plan.
Mhm. Everything in our firm starts with a blog post. We see what home inspectors are interested in by looking at the aggregators. Not only that, we've been in the industry 25 years, so we know that. So we look at what they're interested in. We say we're going to write a blog post about it. Okay, and then from that, we make a newsletter post. And from that, we make a video. And from that, we make a social media post. And the list goes on and on. But everything in our firm starts with a blog post of interest to our target audience. So how about any comments or questions on this? I mean, we kind of got a little technical. I tried to reel myself back in because I'm kind of a nerd at heart on the internet. I'll get off onto that SEO thing in a heartbeat. Anything?
That whole thing you just discussed, it assumes that the newsletter would link to the blog to specific articles in the blog, and then then the blog would have the links to the vendors and other things all on your website. So that's a whole big grouping of interlocking pieces that has to be coordinated regularly.
Well, it's really easy, John. What happens is the first thing think about is this. You start with a blog post. So everything begins with a blog post. And let's say this, I know that you have a lot of high-end buyers were in your market. So let's think about them, or let's think about something simpler. I know that you've done some water testing in the past. Okay, so let's just think about somebody that's interested in water testing. What would they want to know? Okay, so then we write a blog post about that. And then from that, we take some teaser copy and use it as a newsletter topic. Okay, so just a little paragraph that would really, you know, get them hooked. Think about going fishing. It depends on what bait you use is what you catch, right? Okay, so think about consumers and bait we use. If you want to get somebody that knows that wants to learn about about water quality or have water issues, why wouldn't we throw a paragraph out there that entice them? So then they're reading that and said, you know what, I really want to find out a little more about what John's got going on here. So they click on it. Where do they come? To your blog post. But your blog post was already ready before your newsletter piece even got published because the idea from the newsletter came from the blog post.
but you put that in, you put the blog post up, you know, whatever about water, or whatever the topic is,
Mhm.
and it's in that month's newsletter, then how do you connect that to that article to a future newsletter?
Okay. So what happens is we have a publication schedule in our own firm that says this month we're going to be talking about these items. Okay. And so the blog posts are already written. I mean, we have probably 5 different websites at the Home Inspector Help that are out there. And what happens is there's a blog post on e-newsletters. Okay. So we said, ooh, I think that's really a good topic because it's a great lead generator. And will it generate leads for you instantly? No, but will it generate leads for you long term? Absolutely. So what happens is we had that blog post already written. We grab some teaser copy and we put it in the newsletter. And what happens is there is a link right in the newsletter to read more or learn more or get more information about the topic in the newsletter. They click on that button, they come right to your blog, right? And your blog is attached to your website. So now they're on your website, just the
Yeah.
blog portion of it. So in what happens is you can do 2 things. Let's say you have a cool video about the water thing. Okay. Or you've interviewed someone about the water issue. Okay. So you've got a YouTube video. You can do 1 of 2 things. You can embed that video on your blog post, which you'd already done before you wrote the newsletter piece, teaser copy, or you can just have a link in your blog post and direct somebody to YouTube. I would personally rather have the video embedded into my blog post. It's still a YouTube video, but it's one less click the customer has to take to get the information you want them to have. So that's how we do it. We have start with a publication schedule, write the blog post. From the blog post, we take teaser copy to put in the newsletter. And then the blog post is already completed with infographics, memes, regular graphics, videos, whatever we want to have in there. So it's really super easy once you get it set up. You have a publication schedule too. For instance, one of the things that's easy to do is have a theme for the month. So when you're looking at your publication schedule, maybe the theme for the month, let's say in December is radon. Because why? January is Radon Awareness Month. So if you're in that area that has radon, I think we should be publishing stuff in December about January, right? And making offers about whatever you want to do with radon in January. But if we start in January and make the offers in January, kind of late. It's like Black Friday. You know what happens is if you're doing Black Friday offers, you're doing them now, you know, you've got all that stuff ready already, and that comes from a publication schedule. And think about this, John. It's a little calendar you put in, man. Just like you can do it on Google Docs. You know, it doesn't have to be anything super fancy. Now we have lots of blogs and lots of content we produce and a creative department and all that. They do all that, but you don't have to be that snazzy. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's just like here, we're going to do this month and this month. So John, I can't remember now, and I know everything about you, but you doing indoor air quality as well?
No.
Okay. Okay. I couldn't remember whether you did or didn't. So let's say you're doing indoor air quality. Okay. So that's 1 month. And let's say you're doing radon testing. That's 1 month. And maybe you're doing water quality treatment, whatever, that's 1 month. Well, whatever you're doing, you know, you have a month for that. So you get a theme going that month, and it's easy then to do it because you don't have to think about what I'm doing 3 months before you need to have it. It's ready.
Yeah.
So that's way publication schedule is the only way to manage it.
Yeah, the newsletter has been probably the only thing that's been consistent with my marketing forever, and it's only because I don't do it.
That's the amazing part about it.
That's the best part about it. You don't have to do it.
I still, you know what, even from the old days when we had the newsletter before you guys took it over, you know, that's the only thing that you get clients from 10, 12 years ago calling back and saying, yeah, I still get that newsletter. It's got some great information in it. And
I love it.
that's cool stuff. That's cool stuff when you hear that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that I'm having everything linked the way you're talking.
Well, he's talking about something a little more than what is actually going on with the premium newsletter. But some of that stuff we are doing for you.
Yeah.
You know, we're putting your special in there and just kind of like what.
And I'm sure it's linking to a blog post, and then the blog post has got set up for all the stuff inside, right?
Actually, it's linking to his promotions page.
I think it's
Okay.
probably linking to Brandon's promotions page.
We'll just look at that, Beth, tomorrow.
No.
Yeah. That's where Brandon got all those clicks.
Yeah.
Came from John's clients.
Yeah, you get these
So
people in Connecticut calling you for a radon test.
Yeah.
we have a slight travel charge.
But we have one client that did, he's doing some kind of InterNACHI something. So he did a news release, and so we sent out a separate email to his clients and agents about it. And then we built him an image and we put it in his newsletters. So both the prior client newsletter and the agent newsletter. And then that particular one, when they clicked on it, went to his InterNACHI page we built for him. So that's kind of what Brandon's are doing, but there's all kinds of things, you know, that can be done. Those are above and beyond the normal kind of premium newsletter stuff we do. Like with him, he did a page, he did an image, he did not a news release, but something very similar. So that was a little above and beyond the newsletter, but it worked for him.
Yeah. So the newsletter does continue to add value. And B, I can hear you both through my headset. And are your doors closed in your office? Because I can hear both ways. Okay.
I'm not hearing any echoing or anything on this end.
Good. I'm just hearing it in my ears. Ooh, there's something ringing in your ears. Okay, so so the content that we include really it's always going to be video or graphics or you know, surveys or all those kinds of things we can put in there. It just really depends on which target buyer we're after. So that works out really well. Okay, let's look at this one. Okay, looks like I pushed two buttons. John couldn't have answered a better question. What role does an e-newsletter play in nurturing clients over time? I mean, if you're getting clients for 12 years past, that's a pretty big nurturing tool.
Yeah, it was funny. I had a guy that called me. He says, I had done an inspection for him 12 years ago. He had a leak in the house and he wanted me to help him figure out where it was coming from. So I went out there to do that, and I did it for free.
Sure.
But then he said, while you're here, can you do a radon test? I said, all right. So I picked up a test, you know, but he was telling me, he says, yeah, I've been reading your newsletter for 12 years. He says, and you know, he says, I don't read it every month, but there's good stuff in it. And every now and then I read through stuff. So
That's awesome.
that was encouraging.
Right. And I think the thing about it is, and this is where home inspectors have made a big boo-boo in the past. They would write content they thought the customer would be interested in. And in all fairness, they didn't know any difference. But today, with the aggregators, we know what questions people are asking on the internet. Okay, so I would rather write content about something that people want to know about, and I'm confident they want to know about it because the internet searches are showing it, but then I would write something that I think they should be interested in. You know, Dan Kennedy said one day we were in a meeting, he said, would you rather stand in front of a hungry crowd with a hot dog wagon, or would you rather convince somebody they're hungry? I mean, when you think about that, you know, I'm standing in front of the hungry crowd with a hot dog wagon. Okay, so what happens is when people are asking for information, they're not asking for their health. You know, they're asking because they want to know the answers to that. And that's the way we should be writing content, or people who are asking those things. Not what we as home inspectors think they should be wanting to hear. Oh, you need to know about all this. Well, no, not really. We don't really have any questions about that, but you know anything about this? Okay, so so the internet will allow us to determine over time. And if you don't have a special tool, what you can do is just go in and type in any radon testing, and down below at the bottom of the page, it'll give you 6 or 7 other things that people are asking on Google that you can get topics for and write it if you're doing it on your own. If we do it for you, then you know we have all that. All right.
Does it
Brad,
necessarily have to be a link to something that's, I mean, if you're just trying to provide information, can it be a link to something that's not necessarily in our blog? I mean, we don't get the benefit from it, but we're still providing the information.
You could. And I guess what happens is if you wanted to link them to something else, yeah, you could. I guess my goal is twofold with a newsletter. One, obviously, is to provide quality, great information that people are going to read and enjoy so that I can get the benefits from it. But really what I need is I need to build brand fans. I need to sell services. I need to do things that pay the bills. So, so when I let people, what I call leak off onto some other content, they don't usually come back. Okay, because they get busy and boom, boom, boom. But
Yeah, that makes sense.
so I try to do it. Now, what I have done, and this is a good thing, is I've had the article and I put on down at the bottom for additional resources. And then you can attach a link there and let them go there for it. But they've still consumed your content.
Mhm.
So here's one of the other things I think is a problem. And I talk to Dill about this on a regular basis. I think it's egregious for us to think that everybody's going to read all of your article. Okay, that's nuts. I mean, why are we that egotistical to think you're going to read every word we wrote? Okay, so where do most people put the call to action? At the
Top.
bottom of the page, don't they?
Oh,
They
yeah,
put it
you
at the
gotta
bottom.
put it at the top.
Yeah, or in the middle, or in the right-hand column, somewhere else beside. Now, I'm not saying don't have it at the bottom, but if you're expecting everybody to read your content and go all the way to the bottom to see your offer, forget about it. That ain't gonna happen. It'll happen once in a while, but it's not gonna happen on a regular basis. So you need to think about bringing those offers on up higher on the page. And maybe Dill in a minute can show you a page that we have where we do that, where we bring that the offers up. Okay, so I think that's a fundamental mistake. I mean, honestly, really, aren't we in the position of providing great, valuable services to our clients? I mean, that's really what we're about, right? I mean, we're not some crazy wacko salesman trying to sell you snake oil. I mean, we have services that we offer that are awesome and the customers want them. But if you don't let them know about it, what you got available. Now, Brandon might be selling snake oil. I know him pretty well. He's handling some snakes up there in Idaho. So, but the fact of the matter is, people love what we have to offer. I mean, go out and do an inspection, and at the end of the inspection, people love you.
Yeah.
Okay, and why not be able to continue that relationship and continue that brand fan feeling? You can really, if you'll do this thing right, you'll really nurture long-term relationships. John's living proof of it.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing before we move on, if you don't
Sure,
mind,
sure.
just a couple of, I guess, anecdotal experiences from my own experience. You know, you asked the question early on if local people here that we've worked with, other industries give us a newsletter, and my same answer is no. I've never really had anybody do that. But if you go online and you make a purchase to, for example, I bought shoes through Reebok, right? And guess what? Reebok sends me an email every few weeks saying, "Hey, this is the special, the deal, the offer we had going on." Another one, a few years ago, I bought Sarah for I think our wedding anniversary or something. It's called a chat book. It's a place where you can take your pictures from your phone or your Instagram and you can upload them, and they'll create this book and they'll make it real nice and they'll ship it off to you. And guess what? I get an email from them every now and again. Sometimes it's an offer. I just checked just a minute ago to see what else they're sending. It was actually a podcast that they have, and I guess they're gearing it towards moms, stay-at-home moms, maybe. But it's about how to keep your kids healthy and not get sick at school. So they're not necessarily making an offer to their chat books necessarily, but they're providing more value again, and engaging with their customers, even though they've made a purchase, in the past. Assuming that the hope is that again here in the future they're going to stay front of mind when it's time to buy somebody else a gift like that. Then there's the first thought that comes to mind, right?
Right.
They're understanding their target audience.
Yeah.
Because you've said it, if you have the chat book, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom. Okay, and stay-at-home moms have to work hard to keep those kids healthy, because when the kids are healthy, everybody else in the family's healthy, or ish. But depending on how much you get out. But the kids, little germ factories over there getting all exposed to all that stuff. So that's fantastic. But why is it the big companies send out effective newsletters with offers, but we as small businesses don't think we have to do this? I mean, really, I mean, I know John has wooed tons of his business from good looks. But John and I are getting older now. What happens is the good looks thing, me and him, we over with that. We got to really sell somebody something now.
But what kind of offers do we really have once we've gotten past the home inspection and our initial service? I mean, we don't see our clients again for 7 more years if we're lucky.
I hear
We
that
don't, we
all the
don't,
time.
what's that?
I hear that all the time.
Yeah, we don't have a lot to offer them for after the inspection that we're making money on.
So let me go back to this and say this, because this might have slipped past you because I'm a slow speaker. Okay. So what happens is our goal is to make that particular customer a brand fan. So they love what you did. They love your inspection report. They thought you were a wonderful fellow. Okay. And what happens is they're very excited about what you did. Okay. So if we can continue that excitement and keep them in touch with us with information from newsletters, seasonal checklists, all those kinds of things, we stay on top of their mind. So
Right,
what happens is even though they don't buy a property, their friends and family will.
right.
And I always tell this story, John, and this is really, I think, telling. So you're sitting in a lunchroom at your business, at your corporation you work for, and your buddy comes in. Y'all always have lunch together in a lunchroom. So your buddy comes in and said, John, oh man, Mary and I were looking for a house. We've been beat out on every offer. We finally found a place we love. And guess what? Our offer was accepted. And you know what I want your brand fan to say? Congratulations. You know the second thing I want them to say? I know the perfect home inspector.
Mhm.
And when your brand fan says that, price becomes a secondary issue. They don't call up and say, John, how much does the inspection cost? You know what they say? Ken over at the company we worked together loved your service, loved you. And guess what? He told us to call you. So now it's when can you get out there, right? Not how much. Okay, so I concur with you completely. In old days, when things were really smoking and going, people were buying houses every 3 or 4 years, but we're back to the 7 to 9 year rate. People get in and stay for a variety of reasons, lack of inventory, whatever, stability, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, you're right. You're exactly right. So our goal with these strategies is to build brand fans. They're a fan of our brand. And your company is your brand. Okay. And you continue to build it, hone it, and refine it. So just think about it as a little ball, man. You're just keeping it rounded off by doing all these great things where people want to do business with you. And this really does it. And that's why when we go back to making offers with your preferred vendors, I mean, how many things can you offer? Okay, so you have a new product or service, you do that. Okay, this, that, and the other. But what you want to continue to do is add value through your preferred vendors. Like, for instance, we have the home that we have in Venice, we still own that, and we lease it to a nice couple. Well, what happened was we needed a plumber because we have one of those fancy ass showers. Don't ever get this by mowing, where it's computer driven, like your Cadillac. You push driver 1 and it makes all the adjustments, and you push driver 2 and it makes all the adjustments. Okay, so what happens is it sets the valves and the temperature and all this, and like, please. So now what happens is when you push the button, the water doesn't come on. The panel's still working, but the water doesn't come on. So now I need a plumber. So if the plumber sent me a newsletter and had a 10% discount, I'd have used it. You know what I'm saying? So people need these services at different times. And if you have a list, it's not Angie's list, it's John's list. The guy that did the home inspection, they love. Okay, so by providing quality vendors that they can take advantage of, you're the winner. See, here's a story. In Atlanta, there was an article in there about a homeopathic really remedy for eczema. So you got a friend in California who has eczema, and he has eczema, and he has to take these drugs that are pretty rough. Okay, so you see this in the paper. So you cut out that article, drop it in the mail, write him a personal note, and include that information from the AJC in there. So when he reads it, he calls you up and says, thank you, loved it, he's trying it, this, that, and the other. Who gets credit? The author of the article or you because you sent it?
Right.
Of course you. It's the
Right.
same principle when you recommend your preferred vendors. Okay, these are people that you know, like, and trust. I mean, if they're crappy, don't have them on your list. Okay, so, but they're good. I mean, we had Reliable Heating and Air Conditioning. They were fantastic and they were citywide in Atlanta. And our customers loved it. And you know what happens is Dan Jape and his family built a ton of business from Southern Home Inspection Services because, we're doing, thousands of inspections a year. Okay, so they loved it. Okay, the same way we didn't want to do in the old days, we didn't do pests, and so we brought on a partner vendor that did pests. Okay, and we had other partner vendors that did other things. And it really works. But think about how many times you go to an inspection and people ask you, John, who do you know that can do this? Like every day, right? I mean, is it
Yeah.
not an everyday occurrence?
Yeah.
Okay, now you've got John's list
No.
and it's computerized. Okay,
And it
which
helps your
makes
website.
it
Search.
makes your brand better though. I mean, that's really what you're talking about, making your brand better by bringing value to your trusted customer.
I actually have an Excel spreadsheet that I've accumulated over the years with all that stuff.
We can
Let's
help
put it to
you.
work. Let's put it to work.
What,
Um,
real quickly, one of the other things about the newsletter itself, by sending it consistently, is they don't forget you. Okay, just like your guy 12 years ago, he was able to, contact you right away because you consistently send him newsletters. So when they need you or they want to refer you to someone, they just go to their email and type in your name and pull up your information. That was one of the things Ken and I had the issue with the guy in Naples that did our carpet clean. He didn't stay in touch with us, and we forgot who he was 2 years later.
yeah, Beth lost his business card. I'm blaming it on her.
I said I put it somewhere very, very safe.
Yeah.
Probably. Same thing happened with our grandfather clock. Ken bought the clock in Atlanta, and almost 20 years later it stopped chiming and all, and we're like, who was it? And Ken's like, I don't remember. And thank goodness he taped his business card in the back of the clock. We found it back there.
Oh.
And we did call him. And he said to me, I said, what the problem was. He said, have you ever had it serviced? And I said, no. And he said, you're supposed to have that grandfather clock serviced every, 5, 7 to 10 years. I said, well, why didn't you tell me? We spent all this money on this clock and you never stayed in touch with us to let us know you got to keep it serviced. So.
That beautiful clock I bought in the 90s, that thing is still chiming every day of the week. When the kids come, they're like that. That's just like music to their ears.
They
they're
grew
so
up with
accustomed to
it,
that
so
clock.
it's
Yeah.
a homey
Yeah.
We
thing.
have
Beautiful
one of those,
brand.
the guy who delivered it told us to have it serviced all the time, and he says, by the way, I'm retiring.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
And I don't know any replacements.
But at least he told you, so you knew.
Yeah.
So one of the things in supplement to your newsletter, you're going to have email marketing. Okay. And so what happens is you could, in between times, you could send a newsletter that said, don't forget I have John's list or Brandon's list. And here's the folks that are on it. You could feature them. And one of the things that you need to do is this, and this is to do interviews with them. And John, you and Brandon have heard this story, but the guy that did AquaGuard was a foundation company in Atlanta, did a series of 5 interviews with their president. And we talked about everything from failed foundations, waters in crawl space. I mean, the list went on. And those were hugely viewed. Okay, just insert those in a blog post about a foundation issue. Okay, and people then read them. Okay, and then they call your vendor and they call you, but you're providing value and expertise by bringing in some partner vendors to surround yourself with. One of the things about it, you think about somebody's wanting to start a kitchen job or a remodeling job, and they come to your list and they get somebody on your list for it. That's tremendous value. So I think that's in nurturing your leads. It's just not what you write, it's what you provide value-wise. Obviously, the person that has been reading your newsletter for 12 years obviously found value in it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have continued to read it. I know,
was
it's just
actually having a conversation this morning with my homeowner's insurance lady, who I've known for many, many years, and she's really terrific. And I was asking her to provide me something that that I could give to clients to, you know, to get them to look at her for homeowners insurance. I mean, I'm meeting homeowners before they're buying that stuff.
Yeah.
It'd be a perfect connection.
So you should
Uh-huh.
probably talk with Beth outside this call and talk about what Brandon's doing and how you can do it. And it's super easy once you get a formula set up and a plan, you know, then you come on in. But I mean, if she has a website, there'd be a way to link her there. You could put it in your post. You could do a blog post and with an interview with her. And what I do, John, when I'm doing an interview like that with people and I'm not that familiar with the topic, I ask them to give me their 5 most frequently asked questions.
Sure.
And when they do, then I ask them, I look smart and they look smart.
Yeah, and you prefer those videos in person or a Zoom call?
I do Zoom.
Yeah.
Only person I see in person is Beth. That's
And
it,
your
bro.
doctor.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately, my doctor. Although I have to tell you, praise the Lord, I have seen less and less of doctors recently, so that's a good thing.
Good for you.
Yeah, I will tell you, just an aside, I've turned 7 months ago, I moved into a plant-based eater. Last year I had a quadruple bypass. That was the second time I'd had heart surgery. And what happened was that when I just went, they had been measuring my blockages in my arteries, and my blockages had reduced 5%.
Hmm.
They reduced
Carotid
5% in my
artery.
carotid artery.
Hmm.
So it's actually not stopping heart disease, it's reversing it.
Reversing
Now, I'm
it.
doing plant-based too, but I use a filter, the cow.
I would be too, John, if my physician would allow it. Listen, I used to enjoy, some people enjoy Captain Crunch. I enjoyed cackleberries. You know, those are crack 'em. I like cackleberries fried or scrambled or all that. Of course, we're Southern, y'all. We have some biscuits and some gravy and all that. So, but those are now just fond memories, John. So that's it. Okay, let's hit a couple more things. I mean, I love newsletters. I just think there's such a tremendous opportunity for home inspectors for all small businesses. We talked about promoting special or seasonal offers. Radon, you can make up any kind of offers for promotions that you want. How about a Valentine's Day promotion? One of the great opportunities to think about when should I promote is look when the major retailers promote. What are they, President's Day, Valentine's Day, whatever it is, 4th of July, they have a special and a promotion. Why don't we? Now, maybe the promotion isn't a product that you're offering specifically, but it could be a promotion from one of your vendors.
Yeah.
Okay. And never give any vendor your list. Okay, you'll be glad to put together an ad for them and email it from there. Now, if people call them and they become their client, great, but you're not giving your client information, your list information to anyone. Now, just you work too hard to get your list going to do that. That's a no-no. Okay, so anytime the major retailers promote, that's it. Now, remember we talked about our content calendar earlier? What happens is on your content calendar, you start listing those promotion dates, 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, the big boys. Okay,
Mhm.
and you say, what offers am I going to make? So you have those ready well in advance. So then when you email them out through your newsletters or email marketing program, boom, you have it. Okay, and you can work with your vendors, but Brandon, you should be working, and you know this, with your vendors all year long producing these interviews.
Yeah.
Because you can set up a special page that you can drive when they click on a link in your newsletter, they can go right to that vendor's page, okay, with the content on it, or they can go to your blog post and then to the vendor's page if they're interested. There should be interviews on there, all kinds of different things.
Yeah, we're doing that. And one of the things that I was going to add too is, God, I had a thought and I just lost it.
You're too young for a senior moment.
But we are working with our vendors on those, and that's what it was, John, is we have a monthly promo just for any clients, right? And it's always something different. We make a little graphic up. We actually text that out to the client or the agents that we work with most regularly, at least. And that same graphic also goes in the newsletter. So we just make it up. We've got a schedule and we get it out to Beth about the middle of the month. I think we probably sent it in here this week to her team. And again, that's one of the offers. And so, we're obviously marketing to our past clients in the case that they need another inspection or that they need one of our services like a radon test. But also at the same time, we're asking them for referral, and they can share that email with their referral, their friend and family, so that they can also see that same offer.
Right.
One other thing about this, and this is so important, is not only are you reaching past clients with your newsletter, but when people come to your newsletter and log on, to your newsletter, they click onto your blog post and you're getting time on page and all that, that gives you SEO love. So when somebody's typing in black mold, Atlanta, Georgia, and you got a post about black mold and it's got some traction, that shows up for prospects as well. It's much easier to get a page of a website in the top of the search engines than it is a whole website.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so getting these pages love from your newsletter, because you got people coming there. Think about Brandon. He had one story. Let's say 70 people came on that. Okay, Google says there's a lot of traffic there. Okay, so now they start showing in the search engine when somebody types in those keyword phrases. So this thing really isn't just for prior clients. The latent benefit will give you new business as well. And the
it
other thing
doesn't
is
happen
sharing the newsletter.
And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes
Yeah.
time to build up and do the different linking and interlinking and things like that, but it really can work.
It's a long-term lead generation strategy. Will you get an inspection from it tomorrow if you're lucky? But that's not the plan. But the thing about it is, you guys know that I love the internet because you can work once and benefit over and over. Okay, if your content is good and evergreen, in other words, it's not just seasonal, it's content that's, valuable forever, then it stays on there and shows up. And the longer it's on there, the more it shows up. Let's look at a couple of other things here because we kind of reached an hour mark. I don't want everybody to be bored to death with this. How about growing that subscriber list? Okay. One of the things that we could do is, and I don't know, Beth, if we have it, but do we have a share the newsletter button on the newsletters?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can share, if they share it with others, and I would encourage people to share it with others, the newsletter. Okay, the friends, family, this, that, and the other. You could promote it in all your blog posts. You could promote it on the homepage. You could send emails to your prior clients that say, hey, if you're not signed up for our newsletter, here's a great article that we had on here this month. Maybe what you want to do is sign up and get this good information. Or guess what? We have a vendor list. And oh, by the way, if you subscribe to our newsletter, you'll see articles about them that are very helpful, whatever you want to say. So there are ways that we can list build. Okay, so we'll talk more about list building, but those are just a handful of ways that you can get more subscribers to your list. Okay, so this is the last thing, and I think John was hitting on this a minute ago. What are the metrics that we're going to use to evaluate how successful this sucker is, right? Because it's all about the numbers, ain't it? John, you and me, it's about profit and loss. That's it, man. If it don't make money, we ain't doing it. Okay, so how can you tell? Okay, so I know you guys are all familiar with this, but a lot of people are listening to this podcast later, and we'll be talking about key performance indicators. Oftentimes you hear me call them KPIs. So when you think about the KPIs, what are the key performance indicators that would tell you your newsletter is successful? Because it's delivered email, they're the same for email marketing as they are for your newsletter because your newsletter is truly email marketing. Okay. So what should we look at first? How about open rate? How many people did you send it to opened it? Okay, that would be something, right? And what if your open rate, forgive me for using a four-letter word, sucked? Then maybe that was a six-letter word. So maybe what happened is that your subject line was no good.
Yeah.
Okay, because you know what? If it's a snoozer subject line, they ain't going to open it. You're in there competing with 6,000 other pieces of email. Remember when we used to hear this, you've got mail, and we ran over there to open it. Well, them days are probably gone, don't y'all think? Now we have 6 spam blockers trying to keep people out of our email box. However, so your subject line has to be catchy and has to get an open rate. Well, how about once you get an open rate, how about did they click on anything in there? Hopefully they'd have something to click on.
Yeah.
And then how many of those people took action? How many of those people came on and bounced right back off? So there's several little key indicators that we can look at that come up in your analytics that will exactly tell us that. Did they click on a link and go to your webpage? And then we can look at Google Analytics and see how many people are coming from our email, our newsletter email, over to our website. So all of that data is there. So what happens is if our open rate is terrible, then we need to work on our subject lines. But if we're not getting any clicks on our links, what's the problem there? Maybe that's not attractive. Maybe they don't feel it's congruent. Maybe that's not an offer they're interested in. Okay, so we can make a lot of business decisions by looking at the KPIs, and we'll do a whole nother episode on KPIs. But there are ways to track and tell, is the newsletter making you money or not? And then there's intangibles. I've been reading your newsletter for 12 years. Okay, it's pretty hard to quantify that. You know, that is a long-term win. I mean, but you know, if you know, they're probably not showing up, but they're probably showing up as a daily view. But you can see with analytics, you can see where the traffic's coming from. You can look at demographics. I mean, you can look at every informational piece that you want to know about it. But there's usually about 6 pieces of information that I want to
The
know
one
about
that
it.
always kicks my butt is who the heck unsubscribed? I want to know.
Unsubscribe is a good thing. And I'll tell you what happens. I have them put unsubscribe on our newsletter right at the very top of the page. Right by right where it says who it's from, I put unsubscribe there. You know why? Because if you're not interested, you're not my prospect. Okay. And if you're not interested, I don't want you to promote me as spam because that hurts me with Google. So here's the unsubscribe button. You don't got to go anywhere to find it. It's right up here in your face.
Right.
Okay. So I mean, the other thing about it is look at list segregation. Okay. So we have a master list. Okay, so if you're getting the newsletter, you're staying the master list, but you're also coming over to the newsletter list. So if you unsubscribe from the newsletter list, you haven't unsubscribed from our database, you've just unsubscribed from the newsletter list because maybe their mailbox is full, or maybe the information isn't resonating with them. They just didn't want that information for whatever reason, but you're still in our database. Okay, you're just not getting the newsletter. Okay, and the only way you could get the newsletter would be sign up for it with a different email address. You couldn't come back in that list once you've unsubscribed. So list segregation is a whole another thing. I would segregate my list by inspections that I did. So now this is a little bit more technical, and this is not something we do every day for you. But how about every first-time home buyer that you had? Would you put them in a separate list? You still have them in the master list. But would you segregate them out to maybe get them some different information? And how about everybody who was a move-up buyer? Could you segregate those? And then everybody who was a seasoned buyer, could you segregate those? Now you're really talking about targeting your audience, aren't you? I mean, that is the ultimate target audience. Okay, because we know that all 3 of those informational needs are somewhat different, or informational wants. Okay, so we call that cutting the data. We could cut that data down to where you could really highly specifically target. How about people that were new construction buyers? That would be a separate one that we could do.
Or investors.
Investors, very good, Brandon. Investors. So cutting that data, but don't have a master list, and then have separate lists for other things that you're doing. Okay, because the last thing we want them to do is unsubscribe to the newsletter and they take it out of your master list. They just didn't want the newsletter. They don't want to be banned from you. You know, there's other things that they're interested in, workshops, or they're interested in whatever for us.
Because if you remove them totally, they can never come back on your get response or constant contact
with that email address, they can still come back.
with
They
that
have to use a
email
different
address.
email
But
address.
if they just unsubscribe from your newsletter, they're still in your, like Ken said, the master list.
So list segregation is a very, very important thing. Okay, so Beth always gets on to me because I never say this, but a lot of people that'll watch this later, and you guys are, clients, so you guys get it. But if you're not a client and you just want to have a conversation about marketing, it doesn't have to be about newsletters. You can have a conversation about anything. Just go to speakwithbeth.com, get on her schedule, and she'll spend some time with you talking about what's happening, what you need, what are you thinking, what's killing you. So have that conversation. We do have a premium newsletter program that does all these things that we're talking about. It's not necessarily doing list segregation and a couple of those things, so please know that. But it is a very comprehensive program, ties your blog together, all those things, and allows you to do it. And like John said, you know what? The successful thing about the newsletter was he didn't have to do it himself.
And it was
So, and
consistent.
Brandon too, that works. I don't even do it because Dill does it and his team. They get in there and do the whole thing. So I don't have to fool it anymore. Um, did you guys notice Dill had big, broad shoulders? You know, because Ken gives him a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? I said, don't worry, Dill will do it. Dill will take care of it. He's managing the team, the whole thing, not Ken
I used
anymore.
to say that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you and I are kind of, I wouldn't say we're on coast, but we kind of doing some different stuff.
Well, I know Dill used to help me out.
Yeah,
Now Ken
now he
took
helps
him
the whole
away.
company out.
Oh,
He's moved into the general manager position, so he's not Beth's individual assistant. He's moved into the general manager position, so he handles everything for us. So that's good. He's done a great job. So good job, Dill.
Yay.
So contact Beth, have a discussion with her about anything marketing. She's easy to talk with. Set some time aside because Lord knows she might be able to chat you up, but
Well, I do that.
but you'll have a good conversation with her. Okay. Anything else, Brandon?
I was just going to invite John if you want to chat about our resources vendor page. I can give you some insights one of these times.
yeah, I
Okay,
like that. I was actually gonna reach out to you for something else, but I'll try to send you a text tomorrow or an email tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. Do it.
He works better with text.
Text, okay.
Well, I know.
He's the new breed, John.
I know one of the things that Brandon with his trusted resources page, he wanted to kind of get some, his foundation built and then be able to see some metrics to be able to talk to the different vendors about. And you've got what, two that have come on and two more that are coming on that.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. I think when they could see the benefits of what they're going to get, it's just like almost a no-brainer.
Well, we talked about that years ago, Ken, in one of your, remember that video
Naples, Florida.
did, and you had me all psyched up that I was gonna be able to retire on the vendor page.
You could,
I mean,
you could. When Brandon came to me back in June, he said he's had this page, what, a year or two, probably.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, and had a few vendors on there, but had never really done anything with it. And this is the whole thing, just like what you said, John, your newsletter is consistent because you don't do it. Same way with Brandon. What we did for him back in the day is we built the vendor page for him, put a couple of vendors on it that he went with it, and then we just turned it over to him. It was his. Well,
Sure.
When he came to me, I said, I think it would work if we kind of helped you manage it because it would continue. And it has, but I was going somewhere with that, Brandon.
it was about the money.
But
he's making money from it.
Yeah. But anyway, when they see what they're getting, I mean, they're all, oh, I know. Brandon, he came to me, he said, this is my brain dump right here of what I'm considering doing. And just what he got started with about 25, give or take, vendors, and an average, because some are going to pay more, some are going to pay less. His goal was like $4,500 a month. And that was just a start. And then we talked about, adding people in his community. I mean, businesses in his community, like his groomer and, pediatrician and, dry cleaners, because a lot of these people will do that.
Sure.
I mean, he could get that up $5, $7, $8, $10,000. Really and truly, you could take something like that, especially if you're very connected in your community, and you can grow that vendor page big time because you have all these leads that these vendors need.
We had a customer that left that Naples workshop and implemented it. You know him well. And he sold his business out. He did 10,000 a month right away. 10,000 a month at 120 G a year. Now, in your neighborhood, you ain't gonna retire on that, but it's a start.
But real quick,
Down here in
one of the nice
Hickville, you can
things,
retire on Hickville on it.
One of the nice things about it is that's residual.
Yeah, you don't share it with your inspectors, just it comes in each month. And really, it's the, Zig Ziglar thing, you help enough people get what they want, you get what you want.
Mhm.
Or it's the old Jerry Maguire, you help us help you. You're
Show
helping
me
them
the
to more
money.
leads. But you think about an HVAC contractor. I mean, look at a roofer too. I mean, their average transaction value is $17,500 nationally. Okay, so if they pay you to advertise on your blog, which is not against the rules, and let's just say they paid you 500 a month or 700 a month, and you give them 3 or 4 leads and they close 2 of them. The fact of the matter is, or they do roof repairs. And once they do a roof repair, then what happens is they stay in touch with that customer. And when that roof needs to be replaced, they get the job.
Mhm.
But if you can prove it through analytics that this is how many people are coming to their page and you're doing interviews with them, you have them on your blog, put them in your inspection report, this, that, and the other. Here's a plumbing issues. If you need a plumber, here it is. You put their link in, it comes to your website. They go in, look at the interviews, this, that, and the other. You can make that to do it. You
And
can make that kind of money.
And you get twofold there because number one, everything you do on your website vendor page for that vendor, I mean, it's helping the vendor, but it's helping your website too. And every time
Homepage.
somebody clicks in your inspection report or newsletter, clicks and goes to your trusted resources page or that vendor's page, you got to hit to your website. The video that we build is put on your YouTube channel. Every time somebody watches it, either there or goes to YouTube, you're getting the benefit of it. I mean, it's an awesome, I love it. I think it's a great thing.
Unique visitors is a ranking factor. Time on page is a ranking factor. Depth of pages they go into your website is a ranking factor. So it's all a win. It is tied together, but the thing that you have to do is get a mindset. You're not really selling anything. The question is, this is how you approach it. I'd like to be able to provide you more leads. Would you be interested in talking about that?
Has anyone ever come up with an app that could be customized for each client that we work with, that would be sort of like a reminder, hey, it's time to service your boiler, hey, it's time to service your air conditioning, like stuff like that. Something that could send out an email or a text that says, hey, your filters, your furnace filter is ready to be changed. Don't forget to do it now.
So John, I think it was Homebinder. If you go to Homebinder and look at that, the client entered their information in there in the Homebinder, and then it seems like it was with you branded for you, and it seems like they did get reminders about that. I think Homebinder was the one that did it. I interviewed him when we lived in Rotunda West, the Placida area, when I interviewed him, the president of their company. I don't know if they're still in business or not. I haven't heard that much
Yeah,
about
I
it.
mean, I could
I
just
think they
picture
are.
myself as I'm uploading a report into ISN to send it out. If I ticked off a couple of boxes and said, filters due this date, furnace due this date, blah, 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 maybe 10, 12 items that would automatically feed an app somewhere that would just automatically send stuff out. That'd be pretty cool stuff.
So, Dill, why don't you make a note of that? An app design that would allow us to send reminders. The home inspectors would send reminders to their clients about important dates, filters, and clean your gutters, and just certain things.
And that could pop up as a window in that particular client's newsletter.
Oh wow! Now you
that's
really.
really getting, that's
I
really
started
getting
saying,
deep.
"Woo! We've really gotten that thing down now.
But
We might
that's
be able to do the first one. I'm not promising on that second one now."
yeah, but that's a great thing to be able to put that in your newsletter in the spring, summer, winter, fall, a
Yeah,
notification.
but that's real generic. If I could say, hey, Ken, we did your inspection, in January, it's
You can
March
do that
now.
through the ISN.
Yeah.
But that's a very information intensive thing. But if
Yeah,
you had an
I mean,
app
it
that was
is.
set up and you could just check filter and one of the months, it's already set up for the client. Boom, it goes, and then that's simple. But function through the ISN like that, they're not built that way. So let us look at it, because I will tell you that we've been looking at some micro tools. If you've ever looked at a mortgage rate calculator or a body mass index calculator or any of those little micro tools, those aren't that hard to program.
And I stay away from those BMI indicators.
Yeah, so do I, John, because mine is on the other end, man, and my wife gives me total grief about it. So, listen, I'm on the way other end of that spectrum, so it's like bad. Not bad in a too big way, but in a too little way. So anyway, but let's look at that because we could really, when I think about it, it's just really a micro tool.
But that would be an opportunity to have a input that somebody actually paid attention to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if it's customized for them, absolutely it would. Okay, let's just
Yeah,
poke
that would be
around and see
awesome.
what, we'll poke around, talk to a
And
couple
that would be
people.
something you could almost you could get permission at the inspection and be able to send it to them by text.
Yeah, text is the only way to do it, really. Text them. Okay, let us play with it and see what we can figure out. It might take us a bit, but we'll start poking around and see what it is. I mean, we're fairly busy, but not too busy to develop tools. I'm kind of a geek on that kind of stuff. Anything to help you guys make more sales. I think that would be a tremendous opportunity there. Brandon, what do you think about that? If you had a little app and you could just plug in at the end of the inspection, check 3 things, and they got custom emails from you
Yeah, it'd be interesting
or
to see if
text.
I could kind of come together.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Okay. And we didn't have it. Remember when I first started, we hand wrote reports. You guys are just like, I'm so jealous.
I was just thinking about, because I used to print them and mail them, and I was just thinking about how, I hardly go through ink in the printer anymore, not like the old days.
They send you an email, John, where are you, man?
Or remember the days of having to fax the damn reports out?
Oh,
You
man.
fax the report to the client and then fax it again to the agent.
That was a mess.
Technology. I saw the other day that 3 Mile Island nuclear plant is being rebuilt. And I thought, man, that's going to be a big boost for everybody in that area. And it comes out that Microsoft is paying for the rebuild. And the catch is they generate all the electricity they're buying it for their AI facility. They're going to buy all of it. So then I started poking around. Amazon is setting up little nuclear plants, what they call them mini nuclear plants, and so is Google and others, because AI is going to take so much horsepower, so much electricity that they're building little nuclear power plants for them. Can you imagine? I said to Dill, what in the world could AI be doing that takes that? When President Trump said, oh, they need some additional power, I'm thinking, oh, we'll throw another big 6-liner in there to their facility. No, they're talking nuclear power to power the damn AI thing.
We got to start building a Terminator.
I said to Dill, we need to look around, see what's all about this. You need a nuclear power plant, man. We ought to get in on this. We'll be out of the home inspection business, all of us. We'll be doing something in the AI biz. So what a business opportunity. Anyway, okay. Anything else before we go? I appreciate you guys being on the call. It's always love talking about newsletters. I really love talking about lead generation. Doesn't matter what the tool is, but newsletters I think are so good. And you know what happens is, you said this, and this is the key to it for people who are listening. I'm going to close on this, that people in your area don't send them. But you know what? Home inspectors don't send them either in your area.
Yeah.
And if they do, they now use a 4-letter word, suck. They're writing about things they want to know about, not really what the customer wants to know about, because they don't understand the aggregators and other things that you do. So your competitor's not doing it. Why not do it? So I think it's a great tool. Great tool. Okay, Mr. Dill, I get to go to the next meeting, guys. So I'm on to the next meeting.
Good night.
See everybody next week.
Thank you all. Have a good one.
Get your galoshes on, John. I don't want you to have a cold next time. See you guys. Bye-bye.